welcome everybody to another episode of Head to Head Sports. I'm your host Brian Parker, along with my co-host Mr. Randall Hargrove. How you doing, sir?
Feeling fabulous.
I see you are with your Steelers jersey on. All right, well, everybody. Well, thanks for joining us for another week. We are streaming live and direct, coming to you from X, formerly known as Twitter, also on Instagram. We are on Facebook Live, LinkedIn, YouTube, Amazon Fire TV, as well as Roku TV. So you can always check us out on many of your favorite streaming platforms, all under InPower TV. Absolutely. Oh man, what a week! What a week, Rand.
Man. Look, bro.
Even
The last time, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say even today I sat there and I was feeling a little tired, so I took a nap. I woke up and I saw another coaching move two coaching moves, one college and one NFL that I'm just going, wait, what? And I know we'll definitely get into that, whether it's the Nick Saban and then the Pete Carroll today. I'm just like, okay.
Yeah, I was actually about to start in the same place or with the same topic anyway. But
Okay.
when last we was on, we were sitting here joking about Ron Rivera, about that, he won't even make it out of Sunday night, right? Oh, he's going to be can come Sunday. So it wasn't him, but the fact that Arthur Smith got axed at 12:06 midnight.
Ow. Like, bro,
I was
don't even come back to the rolling. Don't even come back
to the office, bro. Everything's already packed for you.
Right. Or we got DHL gonna send it over to your house. So make sure somebody home to receive it.
They literally made their decision within the early minutes of the first business day that they could. 12:06 a.m. You're fired.
That's crazy. I saw that post and I'm like, I saw when you posted. I'm like, are you serious? What's up, Robbie Jenkins? Robbie would like everybody to know, Pinky.
What's up, Robbie?
I know, man. Yeah, Pinky started firing people real early on Monday, and after that happened, Monday was pretty much expected. It was more quieter than I thought it would be, to be honest. It took a minute for it to kind of get going, so at least some teams were a little bit more deliberate in making their decisions. You would not think that Wednesday you would still be hearing coaches and folks of the like getting fired and everything. But yeah, so that's kind of what threw me off guard. Was I figured, man, nothing, not much happened Monday and Tuesday, so I guess we were pretty much set. And we'll talk about some of the other firings and stuff, but it was expected that we talked about Arthur Smith most likely not making it. But we kind of expected. We definitely knew Ron Rivera wasn't going to make it. We've said for weeks he was a dead man walking, and I'm sure he knew that too. And but Ron's a high character guy. He's going to coach to the end. He ain't going to say a lot. He ain't going to want you to feel sorry for him or anything like that. But yeah, so sup guys, Robbie says. But we definitely expected that. I'll tell you, one of the ones that got me too was Vrabel in Tennessee. I didn't see that one coming at all.
So to my benefit, I did hear some whispers of possibly Vrabel going. I did not think they would pull the trigger.
I thought if he left, it would be on his terms, not so much them saying, "Get out of here."
Yeah, I did not think they would pull the trigger. I mean, they did not leave him a whole lot to work with after trading A.J. Brown. Exactly. And his offensive line also being decimated, and also Robert Woods left out of Tennessee too. So yeah, the one that I actually did call just a year late. I remember we were doing a show last year about this time, and people were asking about Pete Carroll in Seattle, and I said I thought he was coming near the end. So I was surprised that he came back for this year, but now that I see within the last couple of hours here, it was also him being relieved of his duties. At least he gets to stay within the organization, but he will not be the head coach for Seattle anymore.
Right. See, I thought the same last year too, from the standpoint that I thought Pete might kind of do like a Bruce Arians, voluntarily step back and be in some advisory capacity with the team. But then Pete kept running around like a little kid out there again and talking about he wasn't tired, he wasn't worn out, he felt good and everything. So he wanted to keep coaching. And just as recently as Sunday after their game, you know, he was intimating the same things that he wanted to be back with the team. And looking at his comments, even after him being fired, basically, he wanted to stress, hey, I meant what I said. I wanted to come back. Ultimately, the team wanted to go in a different direction. But he said he made his case hard to remain the coach, but the organization felt like they needed a different direction. So he
Mhm.
he from all I'm seeing, he wanted to stay, and they just kind of gave him their reasons that they wanted him to move on into an advisory role, which is interesting. I thought he was going to make that decision on his own last year, but um, he still has some fire to play. To coach apparently. Now one of the ones that everybody's on the lookout for, especially now with Vrabel, which I don't think it's going to make a difference to Robert Kraft, um, that he's available. Um, I think if he does make a decision to move on from Bill Belichick, would Vrabel be in the running? Absolutely,
Absolutely.
absolutely he will. I mean, he'd have to be.
It's a
He's
no-brainer.
he's
Yeah.
he's going to be in the running, whether it's New England or hell any of the other I'm sorry, seven other franchises right now that
Come
don't.
on down to Charlotte, North Carolina, brother.
Right.
Take you in a heartbeat. Won't even think about it.
And it's funny you say that because I saw that there's reports that if Bill Belichick is let go, that Dave Tepper may make a hard run for him.
You know, I heard that too, and it doesn't surprise me. I think it would be an absolute awful mix
Me too.
between the two of them. And on top of that, I think that Belichick's time is, I think his time is gone, man.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah, I
You
think
know,
his best days are over with.
it, it would drum up to me another version of Jerry Jones and Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah, that power control, the
Yes,
whole
that
who's
part.
the boss and who
That
wants the
part.
credit for good things that happen and who's going to take the blame between the two of us for the bad things that happen. Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, when I'm reading that, I'm going, y'all, all y'all gotta do is look to a past situation and realize that that is just toxic waiting to happen. I mean,
Yeah.
both of them have an issue with their emotions in one way or the other. Belichick don't show none, and Tepper apparently gets fined $3,000 for his. So you don't want that. You don't want.
No, no. You
Um,
know, especially with Belichick, he would probably want a lot of say
yep.
with the GM responsibilities
Hmm.
and you know, buying the groceries, so to speak, as he's always said. But to me, I mean, you got to look at recent history for that. I just did a post in the water cooler about this. He has no Pro Bowl players this year at all. Um, his last three quarterbacks that he selected, either through free agency or the draft, are Cam Newton, Zappy, and Mac Jones. Those are all his choices. Also, if you look at the past 10 years of history, he has never re signed a draft player from rounds 1 through 3 for the past 10 years. Um, he's been able to draft them, but no player for the past 10 years of rounds 1 through 3 have been re signed to the Patriots.
Wow.
That to me is just awful management of player personnel. And I don't want that crap in Carolina, man. We've
No,
had enough of that. We've
that's
had
more of
enough.
the same. That would be more of the same.
More the exact same thing.
Because the Panthers basically went through the same thing where their retention, I mean, think about anybody that if you ran your own company, and that would be like saying that every year you got to keep replacing the same positions every
Yeah.
single year. how do you have success in continuity when you're constantly having to plug in a different name for the same spot every single year? You
Yeah,
can't.
it's
How effective is your business going to be?
right. It's terrible for business, but worse for football. You
Oh
can't
yeah,
do it.
you
Can't
can't
do
really.
it.
Because team building is all about getting key parts in and locking them in and building off of that. That's how you assemble a good winning team. You can't just plug in a bunch of players one year and push all your chips in the middle all the time and think that it's going to work out for you. And even if it does, it's like that lightning in a bottle where okay it worked, but then after that year everything blows up and you're like the Rams. One year you win the Super Bowl, the next year you struggle to win 8 games. Um,
Yeah. You know as well as I do that the cohesiveness between wide receiver quarterback is ideal, is key, but
yep.
that's not where it ends with a football team. You also have to have the same cohesiveness with your offensive line.
Hmm.
Um, that has to be like clockwork. They have to know where each other is going to be in order to have an effective, good offensive line. And the same for the secondary. Those
Yep.
four guys back there, their communication is key, man. So you can't keep swapping them out and trading them out either.
That's an excellent point, and I think a lot of times, especially the O line, I think that gets overlooked more than it really should. I think
It does.
people overlook the offensive line because they see the running back hitting these holes and busting through and making big yards and stuff like that. And you see quarterbacks having time to air the ball out downfield. Where do y'all think that starts? you know,
Yeah.
that quarterback ain't laying on his back. It ain't necessarily because he's Lamar Jackson and he's mobile and he makes guys freeze and hesitate. It's because the line is good and they're accountable to each other and they know where each other is going to be and they can help each other and things like that. When you have a cohesive line, when they're having to sit there and take the guy that was the center and move him over to a tackle and move a guard over to a center and this and that and the other, and the guy that was in the rotation now has to start and all, or even the exchange. When you go down with a center, I mean, hey, this is the guy that touches the ball every single down.
I'm telling
That's
you. Another good point. Another
yeah,
good point. A lot of people just think centers, oh, just hike the ball. That's it. No, man. No,
that's a hard position. You
it
got to hike
is.
the ball and be ready to block as
And
soon
you
as
got to
you hike
know, you got to know who to block. You got to know who to double team.
it. Right.
And you got to be, the captain for that line to direct people where to go to if there's any questions in the huddle.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
There's a lot of responsibility with the center, and you got to make sure that people ain't jumping outside. I
Yeah.
mean, there's a lot of responsibilities from that position. So, a lot of the successes that we see on offense and defense do start in the trenches. I used to always hear that growing up about in the trenches, in the trenches. They're not the sexy positions. That's why they
Mhm.
get overlooked. I always remember Dave Gettleman always calling them hog mollies. And I thought that was so hilarious. But it's true that a lot of times you got these big guys and they're responsible for moving people around up front or um, winning the line of scrimmage. Does the offense get a push? Does the defense push against the offense? I've seen great defenses push the offensive line into the quarterback, you know,
Yeah. No doubt.
like that. So it really does matter. What's going on, Anthony? Anthony says you was a little, but not surprised Mike Vrabel got fired. But here we come with the rumors of him going to New England. Oh, and you knew that was going to happen. I mean, even if he hadn't gotten fired immediately, you knew that if a move is made in New England, his name is going to come up just because of the ties and everything. So,
Yeah.
um,
That man is as beloved in New England as per se if let me I'm trying to think of a good example for the Panthers.
oh
Say Luke
Lord,
Kuechly. If Luke Kuechly was coaching somewhere and he got canned, uh people would scream Carolina.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
the same thing.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So, yeah, you definitely have that when you have somebody that's been heralded that way. Hey, how about uh Well, first, I tell you what, let's talk about some of the games that did happen. We did end the season. It was so crazy that, we had our show and we were still talking about there were still some scenarios up in the air where teams had to do their part to win, but then still had to wait for other teams to see what they were going to do. And one of those teams happened to be your Steelers. They did what they had to do as far as winning, and then it was okay. Let's wait and see if we're gonna be able to get in or not. So the Steelers did what they had to do. They played the Ravens without Lamar Jackson. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know if they would have won even if they had Lamar that game. So
Yeah,
um, that was a hell of a game. I mean, Najee was doing this thing. Mason Rudolph again was efficient. I mean, he didn't throw a lot, but the man was 18 of 20. And he only missed 2 passes. He threw.
that is the craziest, one of the craziest stories I've ever heard of being a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, where this guy was literally on his way out of the league and now he is leading the team into the playoffs. That's
Yeah,
insane to me.
yeah,
But you're right about that. We've always played Baltimore tight,
do.
no matter if Lamar is starting. I mean, Lamar started the first game we played earlier this year, and we still beat him 17-10. A lot of people
Mhm.
forget that.
Good score, yeah.
Um, but that's just one of those tight rivalries that we go nose to nose, no matter who's starting.
Anthony says Anthony is our unofficial insider. So he says, guess who was asked for an interview for a head coaching job for the Titans? Uh, AP from the Raiders, Antonio Pierce. Yeah.
Okay.
That's interesting. Well, I guess they got to sit there and kind of think outside the box. Pierce did come in through some turmoil and do a pretty good Steve Wilkes like job of kind of riding that ship.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Speaking of Steve Wilkes, I'm going to be more than interested to see if he at least is involved in some conversations because he's kind of been out there for a while now, just waiting for his chance. But I ain't gonna hold my breath. But it'd be nice to kind of see him at least be in some interview processes and things like that. Anthony also, yeah, Anthony also said that Trevor Lawrence is a bust. Jacksonville will never go far. Well, I don't know. Doug Peterson is a good coach. I think he'll figure it out. I'm not willing to say Trevor Lawrence is a bust just yet. I will say this. I never understood the hype of Trevor Lawrence when he was coming out of Clemson. Like I got it, but I didn't get it. Like I felt
Yeah.
like it was too much because if you remember that year, it was called everybody was tanking for Trevor, tanking for Trevor, tanking for Trevor. And I was just like, why? He's just a white dude with a good arm. Okay. To me, that's almost a dime a dozen in the NFL. Um, is he dynamic? Can he really move and stuff like that? He all right, but he ain't gonna sit there and when you see him out there, you worried about him just taking off like a Josh Allen would do. I ain't never see him as that dude. I just saw him as a dude that, same things I heard about Bryce Young. Can go through his reads, find guys, that kind of stuff, make good decisions and things like that out there. And some of that is starting to translate, but then you start to see some games where it doesn't. Um, but I didn't really ever understand the overhype about it. I think he was overhyped. And then that first year when it didn't happen, I was like, okay, what's going on? And then once Peterson got there, you started to see Trevor Lawrence start to improve more and more and more. You got to remember his first year, he didn't have his favorite running back, Etienne, either. So I kind of gave him a pass on that. But we'll see. Robbie says 2019 LSU showed Trevor what they thought. Didn't they, though?
Yeah. So to me, I don't think Trevor Lawrence is a bust, but I agree with you, Brian. I do not think he's lived up to the hype.
Mm-mm.
Um, I don't think he's been that quarterback to put a team on his back, at
No.
least not as of yet. Maybe he figures that out 2 or 3 years down the road, or maybe next year. Who knows? But one thing we can all agree on is we have not seen it yet.
Yeah, and the problem is If I'm not mistaken, he's already completed 3 years, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so now, being a first round pick, you get that 5th-year option. So he's going into an offseason where typically after 3 years, if you're a first round pick, a team is looking to start contract negotiations for an extension. And the question is going to be just the body of work alone in these first 3 years. What kind of extension would you give him? Should you give him? Because the other thing is going to be, do you risk letting him play through the 4th year and then having to make that decision and it costs you more?
Yeah, that's an interesting conversation. I thought you were going down the road of do they re-sign him, but
Yeah,
yeah, I agree they definitely should re-sign him, but at what is going to be a key factor. You're
exactly.
right about that. Kind of reminds me of the whole situation that we had with Cam Newton.
Yeah.
Um, I think it was prior to his shoulder injury, or maybe a little after,
Hmm.
sometime in there when we was thinking about giving him his second deal. Um, if we should re-sign him to a specific number or not. And I always argued against it. Hell no, just because he hadn't shown anything since really 2015.
Yeah.
And I turned it to be right about that. I mean, he
Yeah.
just declined. He fell off a cliff after that. So
Hmm.
yeah,
Well,
it's always a tricky situation.
and it's the same thing that we run into with the running backs is that you hate to do it that way, but it's almost like if I pay you, I'm basically paying you for what you've already done, not what
Mhm.
you're really going to do in the future, because you've taken so many hits that your production is only going to decline from now. I'm not paying you for declined performance. I'm paying you. I'm paying you more because I think that you will perform at better at the same level, or most likely a higher level, by extending you. That's the reason to extend the player, not
Right.
almost as a payment for the services rendered when I made a killing off of you off your rookie deal.
Yeah.
Um,
A
you know,
lot of fans don't get that. They really don't.
yeah, yeah, because they look at it at Rand. They look at it as loyalty. I'm paying you because
Right.
you've been with the team for so long. It's a loyalty thing,
Yep.
and yes, there's a certain sense of loyalty and things like that. But at a certain point, your production does not outweigh your salary. And I have to start going, okay, within a salary cap league, can I afford to overpay a player that cannot live up to the contract? Can't
Yeah.
do it. Can't
One
do
of
it.
my favorite coaches out there, Coach Tomlin, him and the staff at Pittsburgh are excellent at that. They cut ties at the right time. They get the most out of a player and then they move on. And they really don't care what the fans in Pittsburgh have to say about it. The only person that they did extend a little too long was Roethlisberger. But I kind of see why.
I
But
do too. I do
yeah,
too. Some players, it's harder, and normally it is the quarterback. They almost, in a lot of ways, earn that right to kind of go out on their own terms, or even if you are trying to nudge them a little bit, um, you kind of do it, behind the scenes and that kind of thing, and it's not like all of a sudden the guy's going to be released.
yeah.
Um, Rand, I, I don't know if you saw this game between the Falcons and the Saints.
Man, we are on the same page. Okay, I'm gonna see where you take this because I wanted to talk about this as well. But go ahead.
Anybody that doesn't know what happened, the Saints were beating the brakes off of the Falcons.
We are so here today.
That's what's crazy. And it's the end of the game, and Dennis Allen tells the Saints, "All right, y'all, we done beat them down enough. It's almost at the end of the game. Y'all go ahead. Let's go victory, and go ahead and end this." And Jameis Winston, who is not the starting quarterback, but he does love to eat W's, sat there, and him and some of the players had gone to the coach and said, "Hey, one of our players hadn't gotten a touchdown all season. It'd be great if we could, get him to punch it in the end zone and get one." And DA was like, "No." We just need to go ahead and call the dogs off and let it be. They're right at the goal line, and they were like, "No, let's just end this." So Jameis gets in the huddle. Now, first, if you're going in victory formation, you don't need to go into a huddle. You already know what you're doing. You're gonna take a knee. That's it. So they go into a damn huddle, and he said, "All right, what y'all want to do?" They're like, "Well, wait a minute. The coach said victory." Yeah, but don't y'all want to get him a touchdown? Yeah. So Jameis Winston leads a damn mutiny on the field, basically, where they get in victory formation. So when you get into a victory formation, you're signaling to the defense, "We're done. It's
Yeah.
over." They used it as a damn trick play to get the guy into the end zone.
Yeah.
Arthur Smith, who already knew he probably was a dead man walking, decides to get all up in Dennis Allen's face and tell him what a crappy thing that was to do. Well, number one, dude,
Well,
that wasn't going to stop the outcome of, number one, you losing, and
exactly.
you getting fired. Both of those things
Exactly.
were going to happen in that order. Now, did we know it was going to happen at 12:06 a.m.? No. Did we know it was going to happen within 24 hours? Absolutely. But yeah, hey, Robbie, I saw that too, and that made me think about that. Robbie said Uncle Shay Shay said to cut Winston. I totally agree. I saw the next day when Shannon Sharp said first thing should happen is Jameis Winston should be cut today.
Yeah.
Agreed. Bare minimum, Jameis Winston.
That
Anybody
dude,
else?
that dude just cost himself a starting job for next year.
He did, because and then not only did you defy the coach, but then when the media asked you about it, he was like, "Yeah, coach told us to do this, but we decided." Y'all what? We kind of thought this and this and this. So in the huddle, we decided to go another direction. Okay, well, see, number one, that's going rogue. That's having no respect for your coach. And number two, if you were going to do that, line up.
Yeah, man.
Defense that you can go for it. If you're gonna really just defy your coach and try to do it, line up for a play where your coach is going, "What the hell are y'all doing?" Now, the reason they didn't do that is because they knew if he would have saw that, he probably would have called a timeout.
Yeah. I do think that it was foul what happened. I think that Arthur Smith kind of overreacted. I don't think that it even mattered for him to be crying like a baby like that. And it's kind of funny because I'm sitting here in my head trying to measure out the plane distance between Atlanta and New Orleans. And I'm thinking, let me see, about 12 to midnight is probably when he got off the plane, and he probably got the damn word as he was getting off the plane.
Your ass home. Arthur.
Don't report to the office. We'll take those keys and your badge.
Yeah. The badge doesn't work. Keep it as a souvenir.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah, you're right. That's a very short distance between New Orleans and Atlanta. Very, very quick. Just as quick as it is to get from Charlotte to Atlanta. So a lot of these NFC South teams are very close together. But that was just so bad. And Anthony says that shows that Dennis Allen has no control on the team. Well, I don't know about the control, but it definitely shows that they don't have any respect for him. And that may be enough to say, hey, if the players not only feel comfortable enough to disrespect the coach so blatantly like that, but then to go in front of the media, yeah, that's what we did.
Poor Jameis. Poor Jameis. I mean, I really just don't think that he knows what he was costing himself.
I'm like, did somebody promise him some crab legs or something? I mean, like, what happened, Jameis?
Yeah. Jameis is probably looking at it as like, oh, we just got my boy a touchdown. But in fact, I mean, like I said, he's really cost himself an opportunity come next year.
Because what coach is going to want to sit there and put you in a situation and feel like then you're going to sit there and undermine him?
Right.
The one things that coaches have, they don't make as much money as the players normally. The one thing that they do have is the fact that the players basically make more money, but they actually have respect for the coach. They'll go out and do what the coach is asking them to do. And it's not that
Exactly.
they always agree with the play call, but it is the call. And again, if you're going to defy the coach, at least line up and let the defense know that you're not done.
Yeah.
Going to victory lets them know that you are done. You're
Yeah.
taking the knee, running the clock. Everybody walk off. Everybody start trading jerseys, hugging each other. But you made a already 40 not well, it went 48-17 at that point, but you were beating them handedly and making that into more of a contentious ending to a game than it had to be.
Yep.
Tempers gonna flare. I totally agree that Arthur Smith was already hot, but he already had all the pressure on him. He knew it was about to happen, and then to just kind of rubbing in his. He knew that was the last time he was going to be on that field.
Yeah. Two
So
things about that. I wanted to just touch on. You're absolutely correct as far as you say, if you're going to run something like that, don't get in the kneel down position and actually line up, because when you get in the kneel down position, the defensive line and the linebackers are pretty much just standing there.
just listen.
And then all of a sudden, you're getting people blasting into your daggone head and your knees. And that
Right.
part ain't cool at
No.
all, because you're not expecting it. So I
Right.
do understand their anger about that part. And then the second thing I was just going to say about it is, like, yeah, Jameis has definitely cost them an opportunity, because if you're brave enough to do something like that, then you're also brave enough to be in, like, on the goal line and the coach calls a handoff and you check it off and go to a pass. You
Right.
just can't do stuff like that, man.
No. A coach has to know that when they send in that call, you're gonna now audibling is totally different.
Totally
That's not
different.
going rogue, because if the coach calls in a play, normally that play has a couple of different variations, or there may be audibles that you can call if you see the defense showing something different that's going to make that call not happen. That
Right.
ain't what happened there. That would not be going rogue. That would be sitting up at the line reading the defense, which is what a quarterback is asked to do. He
Right.
ain't read the defense before he even came off the sideline to go back in. He already knew what he was going to do, and it was going to be what the coach said no to, because they had already proposed it to the coach, and he shot it down. Because he even Dennis Allen even said, "Yeah, they brought that idea to me, but I told no, let's just go ahead and go victory." So he knew that they had wanted to do it, but the head coach's decision is final. When he sends you out there, it's whatever it was that he said. And Jameis Winston basically said, I got this.
Yeah. Yeah. So Dennis Allen was really in a no-win situation when he's out at midfield meeting with Arthur Smith, and Arthur Smith is huffing and puffing at him. I mean, Dennis Allen can't say, "Hey, I chose to run the daggone play," but he also can't say, "I didn't say to run the play," because that makes him look bad too.
Right. Yeah, that was just crazy. So, I don't know if that is going to be the beginning of the end for Dennis Allen. If it is, the Saints need to make a move quickly, because there are already other openings, and other coaches are already being asked for permission to interview and things like that. So I kind of think that may show that he may not have the confidence of his team, and that could affect his ability to coach that team. I think they could potentially make a decision about that. So if they do over the next week or two, leading up to the Super Bowl, I would not be surprised at all.
Yeah, the selfish Panther fan in me hopes that they keep him, because
Yeah,
I never feared Dennis Allen in the first place.
no, not at all.
Not at all.
Anthony asked, why did Wink Martindale leave New York?
I didn't know he did.
Oh yeah. Him and Brian Daboll agreed to part ways, is the way it was read out. My understanding is they didn't see eye to eye. Daboll was making some coach firings that Martindale didn't appreciate, thought that it was wrong, and they basically decided, they agreed to disagree. And it's my understanding that Martindale has left the Giants.
Wow.
So the Giants, the Giants, I'll say, I had no idea that they were going to do what they did to the Eagles, but that defense was pretty good. They did what they needed to do against that Eagles team. Marcus Mariota had to come in because Jalen Hurts got hurt. But I'm gonna be honest with you, even if Hurts played that full game, they wasn't gonna win that game.
What is wrong with Philly, man? That is just you talking about falling off at the wrong time.
I mean, you start 10-1. I don't know, and then you lose 4 of the last 5.
And just some of them in bad fashion. You blow a lead to the freaking Cardinals, and then a game after that, you get stomped on by New York. It's like
a team that to that point had only won 5 games all year. Now, and when they were at your place, they almost beat you. So you were already playing with fire with this team. Then within a span of 2 weeks, you end your season on their field. And now this time you get your tails handed to you, 27-10. You let the New York Giants hang 21 points on you in the second quarter. The New York Giants. That's just amazing. Tyrod Taylor, 23 of 32, 297, a touchdown and a pick. Saquon Barkley, he didn't run for a lot, but had 2 scoring touchdowns as well, which now Saquon is in another holding pattern for the second year in a row where it's expected that the Giants are going to bring him back again under the franchise tag because you can't franchise a player twice, which I think would be horrendous for them to do. But I think they're going to end up doing it. It's either let him go or franchise him. They're not going to give him some kind of extension, even though he had a great year. They're not going to do it. They're going to sit there and franchise him if they do keep him around.
Yeah, they're going to look after their own best interests, and as long as franchising for a second time is legal, they're going to do it. I mean,
yeah.
I don't see them breaking off no huge chunk of money to give him a 4-year deal like McCaffrey. It's not going to happen, man.
It ain't gonna happen. It ain't gonna happen at all. Robbie busted in with Georgia and Alabama have the top 2 classes coming in for next season now. Now with the retirement of Nick Saban, I think there will be some players that possibly opt out of their commitment and flip to other schools. This will definitely impact college football for years to come. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, a lot of the players that committed because of Saban. And that's going to happen. I mean, a coach, a lot of times going into a season or 2 before they do retire, may not necessarily know that they're going to retire. I can't imagine that Nick Saban knew 6 months ago that he planned on retiring. Sometimes your health tells you that. Sometimes after the wear and tear of a season, same thing that happens to players where they get ready to get themselves ready for a new season and they go, do I want to go through OTAs? Do I want to go through mini camps? Do I want to go through training camp and have to travel to this place outside of our city and be in some damn college dorms and sitting in meetings all day and getting treatments? And there's a whole lot of things that go with that. So a lot of times players then start to go, man, I didn't got to, it reminds me of Lethal Weapon when Riggs and Murtaugh sitting there and Murtaugh keep telling him, I'm too old for this shit. It's like, he keep wanting to retire. And he's like, I'm too old for this. I'm too old for this. And he keep holding on, sitting in the bathtub, talking about I ain't gonna retire. But at some point, you're gonna be in that bathtub and you're gonna go, nah, I'm good. I gave it a great run.
We don't do a whole lot of college football talk on here. It's a NFL show, but I will say, to your point, Robbie, that I don't think the NIL and the portal are a bad situation at all for college football. And
for this reason,
it's working, and it's working. I mean, there's some kinks that need to be worked out, of course, but the flexibility, being able to go to other schools without all these restrictions is actually good for college football in whole. When you look at probably 5 years ago, and the top 10 players class for maybe 2019, and they're all going to like SEC schools. But then you look at current day, the top 10 players, as far as recruits, are all going to 10 different schools. And I think that's amazing.
Yeah, yeah. Do you see any downside of say for instance, I'm a player and maybe a SEC school was looking at me, but they didn't take me. Then I go to another school that's not a SEC school. Maybe it's a Power Five conference, but it's not as big. Maybe okay, LSU was looking at me, they didn't take me, so I end up going to Wake Forest, and I end up just blowing up at Wake Forest. Go to Wake Forest, and I'm just killing it. And then back channels tell me that LSU would really love for me to transfer there because they've seen what I've been doing over the last 2 years. Is there something where we would be worried about some of these conferences poaching players and having them come through the portal to do that? Basically, does that start to turn other schools into almost farm leagues for a player to be able to say, "Hey, now they want me. I'm going to the SEC because now they have a lot more nationally televised games." Yes, I was doing my thing at Wake Forest, but let's be honest, if I go to LSU and get seen nationally, that can help me with my whole draft stock as far as the NFL. Because the whole thing behind the NILs and all of this other stuff is for these players to start being able to look at their earning potential. Is this another way for them to be able to do that? And should they be able to do that?
Yeah, it's already happening. Drake May for UNC. I was glad that he came back his last year. He was at UNC because there was a $2 to $3 million NIL deal for him to transfer to another unnamed school. But that deal was out there. So stuff like that is already happening, man.
Yeah.
And it will continue to happen in the future. But there are some, I think I was reading earlier today, there's some new things that just came out with the NCAA and NIL regulations. I didn't really go all into it, but I think that the NIL thing is going to start to be regulated so you don't see just wildness as far as players jumping all over the place and at the time of bowl games when they shouldn't be trying to move anyway. So
I'm gonna read some of these comments. Anthony first says that this ain't his controversial one, but he first says, "I feel sorry for Pete Carroll." Okay, yeah. I mean, Pete's been around for 14 years with this team. Before that, he was doing this thing with Patriots and other organizations, so he's been around. Even though he doesn't look like it, Pete Carroll been around for a long, long time, for sure. Robbie said, "Shit, my bad. I'm on meds." LOL. And then Anthony decides to. Anthony not only is our inside reporter, but he likes to throw out some controversial stuff. So then he also says that Drake May is another 2.0 Daniel Jones.
I don't know why people are just crapping on Drake May. I don't understand.
You don't like Drake, I don't know.
I've seen a lot of that in the cooler too. People
Really?
think Drake May, yeah, they still think he's going to be the next Trubisky. I don't get it. I don't get it.
Oh man. I mean, Carolina has been putting some quarterbacks out there lately. Sam Howell, Trubisky, and now Drake May. So now listen, okay. Is it possible? Yeah. But I don't have the same concerns about Drake May that I had with Trubisky when he left Carolina.
No.
I thought people were projecting Mitch before they really got to see what he could do at Carolina. I didn't think he was ready when he came into the league, but people were telling him to strike the iron while it's hot because we might not think you worth a damn, but for some reason they do. So go ahead and get your bag. Because if you continue to play and then what we know they start to see, it's only going to hurt your earning potential. So I think he decided to jump because he realized the writing was on the wall that his stock wasn't going to be any higher than if he just went ahead and made the move. I think it was more of a move for that reason.
Yeah,
Because I didn't see enough in Carolina.
Yeah, I don't fault them for it at all. I fought the Chicago Bears for doing what they did.
Anthony, damn, he said Drake May will be a bust in this draft.
Come on, man.
Bro,
I mean,
it's January.
I've seen some of that. I don't know what people are looking at. I don't get it. I don't get it, man. I mean, of course, y'all can be right. I'm not saying that. Yeah, of course, things could happen. You may be right, but my quarterback eyes have not seen that. I just haven't.
He will be a bust.
Yeah, I don't. Can you tell me what Anthony? Can you tell me what you're looking at to make that assessment?
Yeah,
help me understand.
Based on what?
Yeah, based on what?
Now, full disclosure, Anthony, we both Tar Heel fans, so you're gonna have to come up with some facts for us, and we'll listen to the facts. But we both Tar Heel fans, so now I'm not a blind Tar Heel fan. I mean, if I saw Drake was a crop of dookie, then I'd tell you flat out he a crop of dookie that happens to play for my team. But I don't know. Are you basing that off of Sam Howell? Oh Lord! You know what? I kind of thought he was going to say that.
Yep, that's what everybody says. It's like that Ohio State thing, but you can't always go off of that, man. Come on, man.
But see, I think what he's doing though is looking at the last two Carolina quarterbacks. They hit the NFL and go, they do okay in the state of North Carolina, and then when you put them in the NFL, they ain't worth a damn. It's the same thing that was always said, not wanting to cross sports too much, but about Duke basketball players. They ball out at Duke. You put them in the NBA, and they just another bum. And that was true for the longest. Every now and then you get a guy that would kind of do his thing for a little bit, but for the most part, the Carolina guys would come from college basketball to the NBA and just go to hell off. Robbie says, depending on I agree. What kind of system Drake May gets drafted by will depend on how well or flop he will be. But Caleb Williams, I believe, will be a bigger bust. Wow.
Whoa. Whoa. Now, you're talking about bold calls. You should have put that in the cooler. That's a bold call.
Did you sit there and call and then raise him another 20? God dang.
Good Lord.
Damn. Wow. Wow. And then he says Michael Penix Jr. went from mid-first round to late second round. Did he really?
No, man, I don't agree with that at all. Nah.
Any of them teams that sit there and just let that walk by you?
Penix is going top 10.
But look, if he slid down past the top 10 and went into the second round, there would be a whole lot of GMs that would need to have their assets fired.
I'm telling you.
I mean, because even if you got a quarterback, and say you're sitting at 17 and you got a quarterback, and Penix is there,
ain't no daggone way, man. Especially as badly as teams are in need of quarterbacks, you don't pass on that.
This wasn't the year to show you that having a good backup quarterback is a premium. Yeah. I don't know what else will convince you of it. How many starters went down this year or missed considerable amount of playing time? Penix will be a top 10, Robbie says.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But now, okay, so he believes that. But why do you think Caleb Williams? But so you're saying Caleb will probably most likely get drafted in the top 3, but you think that he's going to be a bust. Do you now? Let me ask you this: do you think he's going to be more a bust? And same thing that I would say with Drake May is because you think that some of these teams are going to be pressured, like Carolina, to start these guys on day one, when the right call for a lot of these teams is to let these guys at least sit mid-season to a full year and learn.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying with that. I mean, the Carolina Panthers, in retrospect, should have absolutely let this be a redshirt year. They had Andy Dalton, Andy should have really started all
That's what
freaking.
you brought him here for.
Yeah. I mean, Bryce. We've talked about this till we're blue in the face. Ain't no way in hell Bryce Young beat out Andy Dalton in
No,
the preseason.
no,
I don't even see why
not
that
at all.
decision was
Not
ever
at
made.
all. Not at all. You can even see when Andy was in there, the players responded differently to him.
Yeah.
These same bust ass players that ain't no good, he ain't got no players and everything else responded a whole lot different to the backup than they did to the starter. Even though when you read press clippings, they say all the right things about the starter, they responded 10 times differently to Andy Dalton. Anthony, you gotta stop. If that stuff is that good that y'all smoking up there, y'all need to start selling it down in Charlotte. Jaden Daniels will get drafted before Michael Penix Jr.
So here's the thing. A lot of people are, and I'm going to make a little Bryce Young reference when I do this. A lot of people are looking at the last performance of Michael Penix Jr. against Michigan and saying, oh my God, that was a terrible performance. He's going to fall into, like you were saying, Anthony, the second round. You got to look at that game closely, man. He was going against one of the best defensive teams that have been in the past 5 years. Michigan's defense is absolutely stacked, even backups or players that could go to other teams and start. That defense is absolutely stacked. Besides that, he was being hurried and hit on almost every single throw. But the difference between him and what Bryce does, he didn't take those sacks. He didn't just cover up and go down. He was finding receivers and firing the ball, even if it was a tad off from being hit with the pressure. He was making the correct reads. He was still going through his progressions. The pressure caused the passes to be off a little bit. But all in that being said, I mean, the man still passed for over 250 yards and had a touchdown, I believe. So I think that the average person may look at that as a bad performance, but a GM or a scout is going to say the dude was just under pressure. And even by being under pressure, sometimes immense pressure, he still made the correct reads.
Let me ask you this: Michael Penix or Justin Fields?
Would I so if I'm Chicago, do I let go of Justin Fields and roll with Michael Penix in the draft? That's a tough one, man.
Now, let me caveat this. Justin has now completed 3 years.
Yeah.
So he's going to be up for an extension.
You just made up my mind. Because I'm not paying that dude. I'm not paying that dude a multi-million-dollar, multi-year contract. Yeah, I'm rolling with Penix. Absolutely.
As a trade bait. And Robbie said the same thing, Penix. Because you got it. And he also said, when I asked about Caleb, he said the pressure of performing on day one, plus USC faltered late in the season, as far as Caleb goes. Well, Caleb already said that whatever team draft him, they're going to have to give up some ownership.
That's just crazy.
Negro, please. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. You wait on that.
Yeah. Now that might make you a day 2 pick.
Right.
They're going to be like, shit. Yeah. They're going to be like, how about that Drake May?
As hard as we're laughing right now, NFL owners were doing the same thing once they heard that news.
For real, they probably all looked at that at the same time and just busted out laughing. Yep. Like, yeah, kid, this ain't no NIL. Come on now, yeah, you gonna have to back up off that. He's smoking it. Him and Anthony in the same room smoking. Hey, Kay, look at this real quick.
Yeah,
why to get on the ship with this contract? Anthony said, "Hold on, give me that back. What's in this?" And you go, Anthony, Drake May gonna be a bust. I tell you, I'll bring that on down to Charlotte. That must be some good stuff. Anthony said, "Tell me this: what defense other than Michigan Michael Penix Jr. played?"
So I'm not like the biggest Washington fan, so I really can't tell you that. But I can tell you the guys that were put before him. The guys that were on his schedule all that he could control, right?
Mm-hmm.
He went the hell off against them.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it. That's
Yeah.
it. It's not like he had bad performances against anybody that you want to name as far as a bad defense. So I mean, what he can control, he went out there and did his thing. So that's pretty much all I could say.
Anthony says, and that's probably true. Anthony says that Washington is going to draft Caleb Williams, but they do have the number 2 pick. And as long as they hold on to that pick, that is most likely possible, because I don't think they saw what they needed to in Sam Howell, for a lot of reasons. But Sam Howell threw a lot of picks. They did move on from Carson Wentz. They did move on from Taylor Heineke, and they basically said, Sam, it's your show. Show us what you got. And he definitely didn't show them enough. So will they be? But they've got a lot of issues on that team, and they just cleaned house with their coach. Magic Johnson is going to be looking for him, and that ownership are going to be looking for some franchise players that are going to be there for quite some time. So it does start with the quarterback, because that's the face of your organization. Is Sam Howell the face of the Washington Commanders at this point in time? Absolutely not. Not especially when you got some of these young guns coming out that could be that guy. Would I necessarily get rid of Sam Howell? Not necessarily. Depends on what other backup veterans would be out there that would be available, whether it's a Browning or some of these other guys that have performed admirably, whether it's Josh Dobbs or some of these other guys. Tyrod keeps traveling around. You see some of these other guys end up on teams as backups that kind of help become bridge players for those guys. Robbie, I agree with you. If they put Caleb Williams out there on day one, that could potentially be bad. I just think that a lot of these guys, especially these guys that have been touted pretty much all their life at these schools, they come out, and sometimes that transition process is not as smooth as you want it to be. A lot of times they have the maturity level, but are they physically ready? Are they mentally ready to be that young and to take over a team with a bunch of guys way well older than them on that team, to sit there and be that extension of that head coach? There's a lot of things that go into that. CJ Stroud, probably going to be the rookie of the year, had offensive rookie of the year. Probably one of the, for every CJ Stroud, you get Bryce Young. So you get Will Levis, that had an up and down, but did a lot better to me than Tannehill did. Anthony Richardson didn't know enough of the playbook, but they tried to use a lot of his strengths and they got him hurt. I don't know if the idea of drafting a player so high in the draft should come with the necessity that he has to start on day one. Let the chips fall where they may. Let it be a real open competition. And if they win that competition because they deserved it, and not because you're trying to put butts in the seat for the fans, but if they really earn it, then fine, so be it. But if you're just giving it to them because you feel like, man, your fan base been thirsty for a winner and stuff like that, hey, you got to make decisions regardless of your fan base. Because at the end of the day, when they hire you as a general manager or a head coach, you are on a clock. So you want to put who's going to give your team the best chance to win, because when you don't win, Arthur Smith, when you don't win, Ron Rivera, when you don't win, Brandon Staley, when you don't win, Josh McDaniels, when you don't win, Frank Reich, y'all all in the same place right now. Got a lot of money and they got no job to show for it. That's the place they're in. They got a lot of money and no job, which is weird.
Except for you, Frank, right? You didn't make it Black Monday.
Yeah. You couldn't even make it a Black Monday. Yeah. So that's crazy. So Anthony says Drake May fits the New England scheme. He'll start day one. We'll see about that. We don't know what the New England scheme is going to be because we don't even know who the coach is going to be. Mm-hmm. Robbie said unemployed. Exactly. Unemployed. So back to the NFL. Which is, hey, it's cool. You know, I like getting into that because I'll tell you why. All these players that we talked about are coming to the NFL.
Right.
Their performance over the next couple of years is going to have a huge impact on where the NFL goes. And
Big time.
will they be mentioned with the likes of Joe Burrow, um, Justin Herbert, Josh Allen? Uh, I ain't gonna even say Watson because he ain't doing nothing right now. But is he going to be mentioned? C.J. Stroud. Are these guys coming up going to be mentioned there, or are they going to be mentioned with Justin Fields, Bryce Young? And the jury's still out on Justin Fields. They did decide to keep Matt Eberflus, even though they did get rid of the offensive coordinator. So we'll see what that means. But right now, Justin Fields said, "Hey, listen, I can't control if they get rid of me or not. If they do, hey, I appreciate it and everything." He's at least good trade bait.
Yeah.
You got a lot of options with him, and you should be open to trading Justin Fields because has your team been exponentially better since he got there? No. So
No, they
hitting
haven't.
so hitting the reset button on your quarterback is not like you're taking your team back 3-4 years. You're not doing that by getting rid of your quarterback
Yep, I
at
do
all.
it all day long. You know, this quarterback class that's coming up is the point you just made about the whole future of the NFL. I think this quarterback class is going to reshape the NFL for many years to come.
Mhm.
Kind of like the last quarterback class that was very good, where you had Manning, Rivers, Roethlisberger, you know, those guys. Well,
Mhm.
you see the history that they made
Yeah, and
back in
longevity.
2004. So I
Mhm.
think this quarterback class is going to do the same thing. They'll be talked about for many years to come.
Yeah, yeah, and that will only make the NFL better because
Yeah.
these TV deals that the NFL keeps signing, that these clubs keep revenue sharing in, collective bargaining agreements that these players are having because of the massive profits, and I can only imagine the Amazon deal is going to get renewed because that was actually even better than it had been initially. Um, Sunday night football had never been better. Monday night football had never been better. The ratings are just through the roof. So there's a lot more revenue. And when you have a good crop of quarterbacks coming in to be the face of these franchises, that's only going to make them even more valuable. Um, Franchises out there as a whole, man. I mean, I'm telling you, hell, even my little Charlotte Knights baseball team is for sale, and they talking about getting over $100 million for that franchise.
Let's go buy him, B.
Man, we need to.
Yeah.
$100 million for a AAA team downtown Charlotte. You get the ball field and the players.
Let's go fitty fitty.
That's crazy. I got it. I got it right here. I'm looking at it. So, anywho's, what games were out there this past week that got you other than the Eagles and the Giants and of course the Steelers, Ravens? We talked a little bit about. We also talked about the Falcons and the Saints. Um, any other games out there that uh, impressed you?
Well, you know, I was watching that whole what was transpiring between the Titans and the Jaguars. So
Mhm.
when the Titans started whooping that tail, I was just like, what the hell is happening? Is this for real? And then it came down to the fourth quarter, and I was like, oh, they're not going to hold on to it. There ain't no way they're going to hold on to it, but they actually won.
Oh
And
my
when
God.
they won, of course, that put my boys in the playoffs. So I was very ecstatic about that.
Not only did it put your boys in the playoffs, but it gave Houston the AFC South.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unfreaking believable that a team that has gone through all the turmoil that it has a rookie head coach, a rookie quarterback, and they end up winning their division with a 10-7 record.
You almost never see that combo. A rookie, um, a rookie quarterback and first year coach be able to do something like that. That's just insane.
Unbelievable. We had that division totally wrong because now I know we thought that the Jaguars would win the division and then the Colts would probably be two. And then we looked at the Titans and the Texans fighting for 3 and 4. Depending on how competitive the Texans would be. Would they be like Detroit? where they would be competitive, but they still lose a lot of those close games and stuff like that. Well, the Texans sat there and wrote their own story and said, we're going to win this division. We not only going to just show up for games and it's going to be just enough for us to be close in these games. We actually going to sit there and win a lot of these games and get into these playoffs. So the Texans should not be overlooked in any of these matchups that they have going forward. So if you are about to play the Texans, you need to make sure that you are aware of who they are and who you're playing. Cleveland Browns, you're up first.
That's going
to be a good one. And the Texans,
sure will.
The Texans can win that game, and it's a home game for them. They win the division, they get a home playoff game.
You talking about a stadium that's going to be bananas? That's going to be Houston. It's going to be Houston.
H-Town.
H-Town. It will be on fire.
Crazy. Anthony said about our purchase of the Charlotte Knights. He said, you write a check, just don't cash it until 2055. Now, Anthony, I don't know if you're saying that more for that's really when it'll clear, or you don't think I'll be alive by then. Both of those things can be true, damn it. We're on a day-to-day thing right now, so we'll see. Robbie says Houston's going to be a sleeper. I agree, and
absolutely.
I won't sleep on Green Bay either.
Nope.
They both been playing well at the end. To your point, Robbie, you're absolutely right. The Packers, Justin Love, I gotta give mixed reviews for the year, but more so on the positive side, because you got to think somebody that sat that long after Aaron Rodgers, it wasn't going to be a plug and play where you were just going to be able to put him in and he was going to have immediate success. Now, he did do something that Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre did not do, which is take his team to the playoffs in his first full year of starting. Favre and Aaron Rodgers did that in their second year, not their first.
Yeah. So to your point, Robbie, I kind of believe it because as long as they got a healthy Aaron Jones and they can control the clock, especially with the backup running back that they got as well. If they could keep Dak and company off the field, I think you'll have yourself a game in Dallas, man. I honestly do.
Yeah, that is going to be an interesting game. Okay, Cowboy fans, y'all did it. You won the NFC East.
Really? I thought they won the Super Bowl.
Oh yeah. I was about to announce that too.
Oh,
they have. I just got shipping confirmation that the Lombardi Trophy is en route to Arlington, Texas, as we speak.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So what's going to happen is after they beat the Packers, they just going to go ahead and cancel the rest of the playoffs and get them the Super Bowl trophy.
Oh, wow.
Now, Usher going to be mad because he's been on his roller skates practicing for the halftime show, but there's not going to be a Super Bowl because after the Cowboys beat the Packers Saturday, that's pretty much it. Ticker tape parade will be on Monday. Well, hey, I've seen so many memes about Dallas Cowboys. One of my friends here in Charlotte taking pictures of his bed because he got a whole bed ensemble of Cowboys stuff, talking about, oh, it's gonna feel good to sleep tonight. Why? Because you laying on some Cowboys? Okay, that's why. Just seeing all these different memes and stuff. I love it, Rand. I love it. The setup is just as good as the letdown. Oh my God. y'all and y'all know that a video is coming. I'm already prepping it now. It's gonna be ready to roll when the Packers beat them. I'm going for Packers. I'm going Green Bay all the way. Do I think that they'll win? No. But I'm rooting for them.
Absolutely rooting for them. I'm never pulling for Dallas, ever.
Listen, and I told my other friend this, that is a delusional Cowboy fan, but he doesn't think he's a delusional Cowboy fan. I said, listen, you guys, as well as what was the other team that I was looking at that I told them the exact same thing. I say, the Ravens, of course. You guys and the Ravens are in the same position. It's AFC Championship. It's NFC Championship or bust. If you don't get there, nobody gives a damn that you won your division.
Yep.
Nobody. That's going to be the thing that you're going to be measured on. If you can't get to the championship game at a minimum. Now, when you get to the championship game and San Francisco sitting there looking at you and y'all end up having a good game and maybe you don't win that game, maybe you do win that game, fine. But if you can't even get to that game, nobody wants to hear that you won your division in the NFC least. And yeah, I'm going back to least after the way the Eagles played and you had the damn Commanders and the Giants. We going back to the NFC least again. The fact that what was more impressive to me was that the Packers made it out of the NFC North, in an NFC that wasn't hitting on a whole lot, but still to get two teams coming out of that division. Now, one thing too, Rand, that I'll say too is the most impressive thing to me was the AFC North kicked some ass. 3 teams out of the AFC North. What's up with that?
Didn't we say that though at the beginning of the year that was the best division and it would be an absolute war? We said that.
Yes,
we said that back in the summer. But also on top of that, it's the first time in NFL history where all 4 teams are over 500. That's just incredible.
I mean, that's a competitive division. I wasn't sure if it was going to happen because we both said it could, but it was going to depend on what the AFC West did. How competitive were the Chargers going to take that next step to be more competitive with the Chiefs? Is what we were talking about, and would bringing in Sean Payton to the Broncos really get them out of that 4th spot and push them to the 3 spot and keep them in a pace where they would win a lot of games? Didn't really see that. And then we looked at the AFC East and looked at where the New York Jets trajectory was along with the Buffalo Bills and the Miami Dolphins and said, hell, 3 teams could potentially come out of there.
Yeah.
So it was not for certain that the North could get it, but the North was definitely in contention just because, I mean, all of them were rocking good squads.
Yeah, man.
That's just crazy. The only thing I worried about with them was that they all had to play each other twice. And depending on how those games went, then that could sit there and doom a team here or there because that might put them behind the 8 ball if they went 0-2 in those head-to-head games versus 2-0 or split them. But yeah, they were competitive. And the fact that all 4 ended up with a winning record and 3 out of the 4 are in the playoffs is a testament to the AFC North. So I definitely wanted to put that out there too. Anthony says, don't sleep on Tampa Bay upsetting the Eagles. Jordan Love playing like Aaron Rodgers. That's crazy. I don't know about that part, but I do know that the way the Eagles have played, that is not going to be an easy win at all.
No.
Baker Mayfield is playing with house money. Nobody expected him to play as well as he has all season, including the 2 of us. So I will give Baker his props. I mean, Rand, he passed for 4,000 yards.
Excuse me.
He's in the top 9 in passing. Baker Mayfield had more passing yards than Trevor Lawrence, Matthew Stafford, Jalen Hurts, Justin Herbert, Russell Wilson, Kirk Cousins was out, and Joe Burrow was out. But he had more yards than all of them.
That's crazy, man. But Anthony, I will agree with you just because of the circumstances with what's going on in Philadelphia. This wild card weekend is going to be phenomenal.
It's going to be
I think all of the games will be competitive. The one that's not going to be, I think, will be Kansas City and Miami, just based on the fact that Miami has to come and play in like basically 0-degree temperatures. I don't think that's going to work out for them.
Yeah.
Especially a home game for Kansas City. That place is going to be off the chain. So I don't see that one as being competitive, but the other ones, I think they're all going to be competitive. A lot of people got my Steelers being blown out by Buffalo, but because of the weather conditions that are going to be in Buffalo as well, I think that's an even playing field, man. So we'll see what happens, but I think that's a tight one.
If Buffalo beat y'all, it's going to be because of Josh Allen's legs more than his arm.
Yeah, because I think they're looking at snow and ice in that game. So that's going to limit Diggs and the whole Buffalo passing attack.
Mm-hmm.
And our running attack is becoming one of the most dominant ones in football. So
Yeah.
that's going to be a tough one.
And your run defense is going to have some opportunities because as good as Cook is, he has had issues this year with ball security.
Exactly. And so has Josh. He's put the ball in the hands of the other team too. So those turnovers are things that are going to be critical in playoff games. And that will keep us in the game as well. So I'm going to be a nervous wreck come 1 o'clock Sunday, but I think that we'll be okay in that game. If we do lose, I don't see us being blown out.
No, me either. Baker had 28 touchdowns and 10 picks.
Crazy. But again, that's a home game for Tampa, and as bad as Philly has been playing down the stretch, I would not put it past Tampa Bay that they could do it.
Robbie says that the most intriguing game will be the Detroit versus the Rams. That's a toss-up for sure.
Yeah, I agree. That's another toss-up.
That'll be interesting too because you've got the two teams where they've switched quarterbacks.
They did, yeah. Yep, the whole Stafford going back to Detroit,
and Goff looking at the Rams and Sean looking at McVay and going, "Hey, here I am." Yeah. And so, do you think that will put more pressure on the quarterbacks to show the other team what they gave up?
Yeah, I do think that. I think Stafford's going to be under pressure, but I also think Goff will be under pressure as well. So
yeah, absolutely.
That was going to be crazy.
Associated Press, y'all need to hire me as a beat writer. I can find the different stories and angles for you. But I do. It's crazy, that dynamic. And then you look at it and go, okay, how is that going to affect the way Stafford plays? How is that going to affect the way that Jared Goff plays? They're going to say all the right things leading up to the game. It's just another game. It's the game that we got to play to go out and continue in the playoffs. It's win or go home. All those kind of things. We're a team. We're not looking at any personal beefs and grievances and things like that. I'm going to do whatever the coaches ask me for the benefit of the team, yada, yada, yada. I just wrote it for them. They'll say all of that stuff. But you gotta know that in that locker room, they like, hey, y'all, we need to win this one for Staff. Hey, y'all, we need to win this one for Jared. You know that's going on.
The only thing that really gets on my nerves with that, and I'm seeing a little bit of this around the NFL, is people that still to this day think the NFL scripted this to happen. Guys, there ain't no way in hell the NFL is a scripted league or a scripted sport.
You be giving them way too much credit if you think that.
Come on, man.
There's too many moving parts, man.
Jesus. There's too many moving parts. There's too much information out there. When you're talking about Twitter and emails and things of that nature, and the privacy that players could come forth with. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Scripting, that's the dumbest thing in the world to me.
That is. Anthony says that the Rams versus Lions will be the highest scoring game. He said, you heard it here first from our insider. It has the potential, and Anthony, you're right, because only because this game is going to be in Detroit. So I'm not sure what the weather is going to be in Detroit, but I do know what the weather is going to be like in Buffalo. I know what the weather is going to be like in Kansas City.
Right.
So when I'm looking at more warm weather games, the Eagles and the Bucks, that could be, but I just don't think either team is right now a team that's going to put up a whole lot of points. So I agree with you there. The Texans and the Browns, though, that could be a high scoring game. It could be, depending on how CJ play. So it really depends. I'm gonna be honest. If the Packers do not play the Cowboys close, and that defense, if it's a high scoring game in Dallas, it's gonna be because the defense got loose. If that Dan Quinn defense get loose on them Packers and revert Jordan Love back into looking like a straight up rookie and a bum, it could get out of hand real quick. If Jordan Love goes in there and plays within himself, and doesn't let the fact that he's at AT&T Stadium, he in Jerry World, or as my wife's cousin calls the place, Mecca. He calls it Mecca, Brand. I'm like, bro, but he does. If he gets encapsulated in all of that, then yeah, it could get ugly. If they play their style of ball against the Cowboys, it could slow that game down. If Dak and CD continue to stay on that same page, though, it's going to be crazy. Dak and CD have definitely been in it. I'm gonna definitely say that Dak has definitely earned MVP conversation. Um, he corrected those 15 interceptions that he had the year before with only 9 this year. He's thrown 36 touchdowns. He has a 105.9 passer rating. He's thrown for the third most yards this season with 45-16. I say a lot about the Cowboys. I'm going to have to take a bath after this show now. But he's definitely in the talks for MVP. Ultimately, do I think Lamar Jackson is going to get it? Yes. But do I think Dak Prescott will get some votes for it? He should.
Absolutely. Mr. Parker, did I just hear you give Dak Prescott his props? Good job. Good job.
Yeah.
I know it was hard, bro.
I did it with 4 minutes left only because my stomach is already churning. So I know what I'm going to have to go do. And then I'm gonna have to let the other end do what it got to do, and then I have to watch all this off of me. So I'm doing that knowing that in the next 5 minutes, when y'all don't see me on camera, y'all already know where I'm gonna be at. So I'm just letting you know. But no, seriously, yeah, he definitely does deserve it. I've watched the team play. I watched the biggest question about this team. Well, two things about this team with the Cowboys was going to be, how was the quarterback play going to be concerning the quarterback, and then his relationship with his receivers, meaning did they really have a number one, who that number two receiver was going to be, and number two, what would the team do when the defense wasn't constantly giving you sudden changes, interceptions, interceptions for a touchdown, punt returns for a touchdown, those kind of things. When the defense wasn't sitting there putting points on the board, would your offense be enough to get it done? They've answered those questions. And then the other questions that they had to start answering was, can you beat teams that have winning records? It's fine that you beat up on your division, the NFC least. Can you go outside of your division and start playing competitive teams? Something that the Miami Dolphins, again, are showing me that they are more in tune with the Dallas Cowboys, where they look good on paper. They look like this high-scoring offense, but they only seem to bring it out when there's an inferior opponent on the other side of the field.
Yep.
So that doesn't impress me. That gives me a false sense of where you really are, because that just means that the schedule makers made it so that we could showcase you against these teams. But then as the season goes on and on and on, when you have to play more competitive teams, you just like a bad bag of Viagra. You can't keep it up. and in that case, you should definitely call Deshaun Watson, because he can refer you to a Instagram therapist. But anyway.
Hands on.
Hands on, wax on, wax off.
Wax on, wax off. Mr. Massagy, baby.
All right, we got like 1 more minute left. So we got the Browns and the Texans. Who you got coming out of that?
Man, these are really tough choices. I've not made up my mind. I've not made up my mind. I say Cleveland. I'm leaning Cleveland, but then part of me is like, these Texans, man, they just seem like a team of destiny, man.
Ain't counting them out. CJ, he's at home. Like you said earlier, that place is going to be bonkers. I'm leaning toward the Texans on that one. Steelers Bills is going to be in Orchard Park.
I'm rolling with my boys. I'm gonna sound like a homer. I'm gonna sound stupid. I may sound real stupid come next week when we're talking about it, but I'm rolling with my boys.
Rams and Lions in Detroit.
I'm gonna stick with Detroit and Campbell, but that's gonna be hard.
Me too. Aiden Hutchinson gonna have to get loose on Stafford a couple of times.
Yeah,
Stafford has the propensity to throw a pick six in this game.
yeah, definitely.
Jahmyr Gibbs could probably run all over it, but Kyron Williams is not to be looked over. Neither is Cooper Kupp or Puka
No,
in that game. You got the Dolphins and the Chiefs in Kansas City.
that's the easiest decision. I'm going KC with that one all day.
You got the Eagles and the Bucks in Tampa Bay. Eagles look like doo-doo. Bucks are playing with house money.
Man, I keep saying that Philly's gonna right the ship. I've been saying that for the past 4 weeks, though.
Me too.
So I'ma just hope they get it done. That's all I could do is hope they get it done.
Me too. I grew up an Eagles fan, so I would love to see them do it. But I think Baker's going to find a way. I think Mike Evans and Chris Godwin are going to have a field day on this defense, because I think what's going to happen is Eagles have a very handsy defense, and that does not work well for a big receiver like Mike Evans.
Yeah.
Bradbury and them, y'all put y'all hands on him, y'all going to get some DPIs like crazy. It's going to be some holding and defensive pass interferences all game. He start airing that ball out. And the water cooler is going to be insane, because if Baker wins the playoff game, Rand, you will not hear the effing end.
Oh my God, I'm glad Osman is not on this damn show.
You are going to get killed. I want you to know, they're coming for you. They are coming for you. And then lastly, the Packers and the Cowboys. As much as I'd like to see the Packers win, I think the Cowboys are destined to get to the NFC Championship game to meet their eventual fate against the 49ers.
Yeah,
I hate to say it, but I mean, you know, I as much as I hate the Cowboys, I got to keep it honest. I think they're going to go to the NFC Championship game and then lose to the 49ers, but I think they will at least get there for the first time in 29 years.
I think they get knocked off after this one.
If they do, Monday is going to be insane all over the world. Whether it's Stephen A. Smith, whether it's me, whether it's people in Dallas, whether it's Cowboy fans all over the place, there's going to be the only people that will benefit from the Cowboys losing on Sunday will be Walmart on Monday, when people have to go in and buy new TVs because they busted up the ones they had.
Yes, indeed.
Walmart might be doing really, really well on Monday if the Cowboys lose.
Let's put our stock in Walmart, and then we'll be able to afford the baseball team here. Man. I'm hoping for an absolute Dak meltdown. I like Dak, but y'all have gone far enough, damn it. I'm hoping for a Dak meltdown. Sorry, Dak, but I am.
Absolutely. And we will bring this to y'all again next week. We'll see if any more coaches get fired between now and then. Hope y'all have a great week. Thanks, Rand. We will see y'all all again next week. Y'all take care out there. We'll see y'all again.